เทสเห็นว่าอัปเดตแล้วไหนดูคืนของเมื่อคืน
Hi, I'm Chris Wilson from Grinding Gear Games.
Before we get started though, I wanted to mention that live stream
เฮ้ยปีกนี้สวยนะ
after that
อ่ะเสียงไม่ได้ยินเลยฟิลเตอร์
Announced today. They'll be joined by Rory Rackham, who's the Grinding Gear Games developer who was in charge of the development of the Ultimatum League. Alright, let's get started. You're probably wondering why has it been so long since we last showed you any Path of Exile 2 footage. And honestly, this is because the project is so important to us that we are definitely taking our time to make sure that we make the best possible action RPG. Let's watch a new trailer.
Among ancient ruins, evil grows once more.
Wow.
The seed of corruption advances, spreading dread and despair. We must give chase.
คือเดิมเฮ้ยหอกไอ้เหี้ยกว่าจะมาโง่อ๋อเป็นระเบิดปกตินะ
These sands hide countless secrets. 3,000 years of dormant malevolence.
มาโลด
We must hunt down the seed and put an end to this madness. If Rayclast is to survive. ดูแตกต่างถึงให้แบบว่ากราฟิกเดียวกันเงาแตกต่างออกเอ็กซอยตู้ชาติไหนไม่รู้มาแต่หอกนี่มึงแบบเจ๋งไอ้เหี้ยหอกมาแล้วไม่มีสกิลหอกมา
That trailer really shows what we have achieved with Path of Exile 2. I am so proud of the efforts of the entire team in putting that together. At ExileCon, we announced that Path of Exile 2 is a true sequel to Path of Exile. So that means a new 7-act campaign, it means a whole new skill gem system, new items, new monsters, character classes, all the Ascendancy classes are completely new, it's got cutting-edge next-generation graphics as you just saw. Basically, it's everything you would expect from a sequel to Path of Exile. But we're not just throwing away our legacy, we're embracing it. Both campaigns will be fully playable from within the same game plan. You'll be able to play through the original Path of Exile storyline or the new Path of Exile 2 campaign on the way to the shared endgame. All of your old characters will still be playable, and of course, any microtransaction purchases you made in Path of Exile will carry on to the sequel. At ExileCon, we introduced the dark forests of the island of Ogham, where you start your journey. Today, we're proud to showcase Path of Exile 2's second act, which takes place in the Vastiri Desert.
Second act คือ Desert
Welcome to Path of Exile 2's second act.
ว้าว
As you saw in the trailer, Act 2 is centered around a caravan of Meraketh called the Ardura who live in the Vastiri Desert. You're chasing another caravan from an opposing tribe called the Faradun. There's a set of large ancient gates blocking the progress of the caravan through a desert pass, so you're being sent through the Traitor's Passage to unlock
ก็
them.
ทำไมไม่มีหอกสักทีหนึ่งในทีเนี่ยมาแล้วเนี่ย
But the military carts have departed for the gates.
เนี่ยหอกมา
Make
แล้ว
haste.
Path of
สกิล
Exile
ใหม่หมด
2 is
เลย
a
นะ
lot more
4-5
than just
ส
new
กิลนั่นแหละ
enemies. We want combat to feel both brutal and responsive, even at low levels.
อู้
We're ensuring that each weapon type has unique and different mechanics. Each weapon class feels different to play, and today we're going to start by demonstrating the new spear weapon class.
นิวสเปียร์เวปอน
Spears
ค
are
อ
a
ร์
weapon class favoring mobility with both melee and ranged attack options. To that end, each spear will grant you at least one mobility skill. In this case, the spear comes with both an engage and disengage skill. When you engage, it increases your melee damage for a short time, and that really encourages you to be
มีเก
mobile
ต
during
อ๋อ
combat.
ได้สกิลนี้มีเกตนี่
One
ไง
of the skills we're using here is called Whirling Slash. When you use Whirling Slash, it creates a sandstorm that grows in size each time you use the
ขนาด
skill.
เดีย
When
โบ
you
ยัง
leave
ไม่
the
มี
sandstorm, it
สกิลออก
explodes, dealing damage to nearby monsters. A great way to do that is to use the Disengage skill, which makes you fly backwards and throw projectiles.
น่าเล่นน่าเล่น
In PoE 2, each area's mini-boss is a much more substantial fight with interesting mechanics. You'll be able to find at least one mini-boss in each area of the game. One thing I love about this boss in particular is that it destroys the ceiling when it slams the ground, letting in more light. Clever players will notice that if they're
คือ
standing
พอ
in
มั
the
นส
light,
แลม
then
แล้ว
they're not
มั
going to have
มัน
any
เปิด
rocks
ช่อง
falling on their
ช่อง
head.
เว้ยให้มีแสงออกมาลงข้างล่าง
The Rapid Assault skill that we're using against this boss does 3 rapid stabs, followed by a 4th stab that deals more damage and can stun, if you're willing to commit to a long attack time. While developing the skills for Path of Exile 2, we were really thinking a lot about designing skills that could be cancelled early to dodge, or you can commit to the full attack for maximum damage. สวยนะครับมันดูเหมือนเดิมแต่มันแบบเฟรชอะเฟรช One of the skills we're using here is called Spear Field, which creates an area of spears coming out of the ground that impale monsters who walk into them, causing them to bleed. As the monsters move towards you, they take damage, so using your mobility skills as a way to move away from them is a great strategy here. In Path of Exile 2, we've invested a lot in our animation system. I'm sure you're noticing the animations are looking a lot better than they did in PoE 1. But there's also a lot of subtle detail, like characters having different run animations depending on how fast they're moving. When we use a Quicksilver Flask here, you can see the character changes to a sprinting animation.
ทำให้ดูเหมือนวิ่งเร็วขึ้น Ancient Gate
Now that we've arrived at the Ancient Gates, we're going to show you another of the new weapon classes in Path of
นึกถึง
Exile
เดียโบ
2,
เลย
crossbows.
อ่าดู
Crossbows
เข้า
are
ในตัว
special
เขา
in that they grant attack skills implicitly. This particular crossbow grants Power Shot, which is a high damage single target attack. In order to modify what Power Shot does, you're going to need to equip bolt skill gems, which change the type of bolts that are loaded into the crossbow. Here we've got 3 different bolt skills that the character can switch between depending on the situation.
Armor piercing bolts. Incendiary bolts.
อ๋อคือใส่กระสุนเข้าไป
There
แล้ว
are
ก็
frost bolts can be used to disrupt
ไม่
attacks
เหมือน
of
กัน
enemies to prevent them from closing in on your position. You can then follow up with armor piercing bolts to do plenty of damage.
มีเพียสมีน้ำแข็งมีไฟ
In this area, we're helping Asala, leader of the Ardura, to open the ancient gates and let the caravan through.
Piercing bolts.
Because the bolt types are the skill gems, support gems that are added to them will modify whatever the skill is that you're using. Here we're going to add multiple projectiles to our incendiary bolt.
Armor frost bolts.
อ๋อแอดเฉพาะบางอัน
Incendiary bolts.
ที่แอดได้นี่รายละเอียดแล้วให้มันออกก่อนดีกว่าเกม
Armor frost
เรื่องพวก
bolts.
นี้
Armor piercing bolts.
แต่คือประมาณบอกว่าผมบอกว่าความคืบหน้าของเกมมันขนาดไหนแล้ว
Incendiary bolts.
มากกว่าเกมมันพัฒนาไปถึงไหนมีมอนตัวใหม่ๆเยอะอย่างนั้น
Incendiary bolts.
In Path of Exile 2, we're doing a lot more interesting things with monster packs. Here you can see some of the monsters patrolling around.
Armor-piercing bolts.
ฮะมันเตอร์ที่เป็นหินก็มี
Permafrost bolts. Incendiary bolts. Armor-piercing bolts. Permafrost bolts. Armor-piercing bolts.
เทโบน่าจะโบอ๋อประเด็นของ
Permafrost bolts.
คอสโบเนี่ยก็คือ
Incendiary bolts.
ต้องดูสกิลพื้นฐานมันเป็นอะไรปกติธนูมันจะเป็นอิเลเมนต์กับ Attack Speed
Armor-piercing bolts.
อ๋อคิติคอนเลยมีคิติคอน Attack Speed แล้วก็ Elemental Damage แต่คอสโบนี่อาจจะ
Now
มี
we're
ส
coming
ตัน
to
มา
another
ด้วย
example of a Path of Exile 2 mini-boss, Lim the Impaler.
มินิบอสนี่มินิบอสมึงเหรอจะได้ถือหอกด้วยเด่น
Incendiary bolts.
ปุ้ง
Armor-piercing bolts.
The boss has dropped another type of crossbow, a siege crossbow. This crossbow grants the siege cascade skill.
เห็นไหม
The
เออ
skill
เพ
is
ชร
also modified depending on what type of bolts you're using.
อันนั้น power อ๋อมันเป็นอ๋อมันจะซับด้วย
Bolts.
สกิลชนิดหนึ่งอ๋อเฮ้ยน่าสนใจมากอันเนี้ย
Incendiary bolts.
ฮู้โคตรน่าเล่นอะถ้าอย่างเนี้ยความหลากหลายต้องอยู่เนี้ย Open the circuit นี่เกมสมบูรณ์ไปเยอะแล้วนะ X2 เนี่ยดูแล้วแต่ว่ามี
Incendiary
กระตุกอะไรอยู่บ้างทำดีอย่าทำดีกว่าไม่ใช่
piercing bolts. Permafrost bolts. Incendiary bolts.
We try to add a lot more little details to combat in Path of Exile 2. You might notice that the
น่า
monsters who
เล่น
die
นะ
while
น่าเล่น
burning
อะ
have charred
ธนูเนี่ย
corpses. We really want to make sure that there's a feeling that as you leave the battlefield, there's clear evidence of what combat took place there.
Permafrost bolts.
ไม่กักด้วยนะ
Armor-piercing bolts. Permafrost bolts. Incendiary bolts.
ใครดูไอ้นี่ก็ถอดใจอยากเดโบสี่แล้วสงสัยผมว่า เผยๆนี่ได้เล่นก่อนเนี่ยกับเดโบสี่
Permafrost bolts. Incendiary bolts.
แล้วเนื้อเรื่องน่าจะเข้มเลยแหละภาค X2 เนี่ย
Piercing bolts.
น่าจะสนุกเลย
Incendiary bolts. Armor-piercing bolts. Permafrost bolts. Incendiary bolts.
นั่นแล้วก็โหก็นั่นที่มันสลับได้หลายสกิลแบบนี้มันทำให้เกิดกันเรื่องอะไรการเล่นสกิลที่หลากหลายขึ้นเดฟก็คิดเลยแหละว่าไอ้เหี้ยอยู่กับสกิลเดียวเกินไปมันไม่ไหววะ
Incendiary bolts.
เล่นว่าสแลมอยู่ทั้งเกมไอ้เหี้ยไม่ก็ต้องสิกเลนอยู่ทั้งเกมเลยนั่นแหละ
Permafrost bolts.
เดี๋ยวก็
Incendiary bolts. Armor-piercing bolts.
รู้สึกว่าเขาอยากให้กลับมาคอมโบ
This is
ส
the
กิลมาก
perennial
ขึ้น
king, the leader of the Faradome. His goal here is to prevent you from catching the caravan at any cost.
Armor-piercing bolts.
Outsider, we fight!
กันแนวคิกโอ้บอสดูเหมือนรักโซอ่ะบอสดูดิถือดาบเดียวแล้วแบบพุ่งเข้ามาฟันเราเลยอ่ะเดี๋ยวอ๋อมอนดูดเป็นรากไม้อะเมื่อกี้บอสสวยอะ เมื่อกี้บอสมันดีอะแต่ความรู้สึกผมไม่ชอบไอ้ข้างล่างนี้เท่าไหร่นะข้างล่างไอ้
Make haste.
ตัวไอ้เนี่ยเลเวลอัพเนี่ยอันก่อนดีกว่าเลยอยากให้เขาขายสกินในตรงนี้ด้วยนะที่จริงอ่ะมึงขายได้นะจริงๆสกินตรงนี้
Quickly.
ตรงหับ
He
เนี่ย
conjures the very sands against us.
หุ้ยท่าทางของเหมาะของการเดินมันแบบ
This madness has gone on long enough.
ดูดี
The
อ่ะ
king is not the man I once knew. And sands swallow me if I do any more to enable him. You plan to continue your pursuit, yes? You will not catch him. Not without me.
We cannot follow through the raging sands. Let us return to the caravan and question this defector.
Return with the factor
This is the Ardura caravan, your town in Act 2.
โอ้โหเคลื่อนที่เลยทำซะเคลื่อนที่เลยดูดิ
I am Asala, the Sekima of the
ห้องตัว
Ardura.
ละครทำดี
I
ขึ้นเย
care
อะ
not where you came from, nor
ดู
what
ดีเทล
caste
ดิ
you might have been
นี่
there.
ดูดีเทล
All
ต่าง
that
ๆตรงเนี้ย
matters
เนี่ย
is that you have shown yourself
Yeah,
capable
yeah.
in battle, Jingak.
ล้อเนี่ย
Remain a friend to the Ardura, and you shall have nothing but respect from us.
โอ้สกิลใหม่
From what your shade has told us, the situation is dire. This Balbalic will live or die based on her usefulness in pursuit of the seed of corruption.
Cheese
Ask
of
her
the
what
corruption
questions you will. Then we, Ardura, will decide her fate.
โอ้ทำดี
You need not trust me. You will see the truth of my information.
ถ้าเล่นจริง
soon
ๆ เราจะ
enough.
ไม่ค่อยสนในเรื่องนั้นหร
I
อก
ask nothing
สนว่า
of
วิว
you.
ไปต่อได้หรือเปล่า
Only
มากกว่า
that you do what you know is right.
One of the things we really wanted to do in Act 2 was to use the mobility of the caravan to allow the player to choose how they explore the act. Here you're given 4 options on how to proceed.
อ๋อไม่ใช่แบบว่าเฮ้ย
There
มี
is a
ทางเลือก
tribe
ให้
of
เราด้วย
Loseland
ว่ะ
that inhabits the Mastodon Badlands. They worship the bones of those long ago beasts, and that faith has given rise to powerful tusks that can somehow call on storms and strike enemies with lightning. The
ไม่ใช่เล่น
king
เนื้อเรื่องโง่ๆไป
wishes
ยัน
to
จบนะ
steal
ไม่ใช่
these
โอ้
objects
มีทางเลือก
of
ด้วย
worship
เนี่ย
and use their lightning in war. Do what you must.
Though events demand you tread upon a valley of the dead, do not do so flagrantly. Keep your presence light. Cleanse what corruption you can, and we shall skirmish with the Faradun to protect your flank.
Once you've picked your destination, the caravan will travel to that area and come to a stop so that you can disembark and go on your quest.
มอนทูดอน
Because we just got the Storm Spear skill as a quest reward, now would be a great time to switch back to spears and use some ranged abilities.
อ๋อสเปียร์แบบแรงค์
Storm Spear fires a lightning projectile which splits on contact.
ไหนดูหน่อยดิ นี่คือสกิลใหม่เกือบทั้งแผงเลยนะโอ้โหโคตรเท่
The other skill we're using here is called Blazing Lance. Blazing Lance creates a trail of fire from the ground, dealing damage over time. However, if you're willing to stand in place for long enough, you can throw a second spear that will fan the flames for much more damage.
กูเด็ดเท่ไปเลยเหี้ยเท่ไปเลยอะเนี่ยเป็นหนึ่งสายไปเลยนะสเปียร์อุ้ยเมื่อกี้สีเขียวๆเรามีธาตุอิเลเมนต์ใหม่เหรอเมื่อกี้แป๊บหนึ่งตอนที่เราโดนเป็นไลนิ่งพอเราโดน
We've
ไล
just
นิ่ง
found a unique spear. It's called Devata's Wind.
Unique spear.
This spear has an extra modifier that synergizes really well with Storm Spear. When you disengage, you get 2 additional projectiles on your projectile skills.
ดูหน่อยโอ้โหมันโอ้โหมันแบบ โอ้เท่กว่าธนูสัก3 เท่าไอ้อะดูเป็นเอเรียดาเมจด้วยนะโอ้โหเนี่ยก็เรียกว่าเท่ไว้ก่อนเนี่ยโอ้โหใครก็เล่นอ่ะถ้ามันออกมาผูแบบผูแบบเท่จริงแหละหอกแบบโคตรพ่อโคตรแม่เท่คือแบบ มันเหมือนแบบมันก้ำกึ่งกับสกิลแบบคว้างค้อนโยนเหยียบไปแล้วสายฟ้าฟาดลงมาอีกทีมีอะไรให้ผมแปลกใจทุกวันเลยครับพาน้องนิพายเนี่ยเหมือนเป็นสายฟ้าแต่ว่าเหมือนเป็นเอลิเมนต์ใหม่อีกอันหนึ่งอะที่มอนตีเราอยู่นะเมื่อกี้แล้วถ้าเกิดเราติดเราจะเกิดสายฟ้าเนี่ยมันจะมีอยู่ฉากแวบหนึ่งอะเมื่อกี้ปกติสายฟ้าจะไม่ติดแบบนี้แต่ไม่รู้ผมคิดเองหรือเปล่าแต่ว่าตอนติดสถานะอยู่ด้านซ้ายมือเราขึ้นเห็นที่ช่องเลือดโหบอสเลยเนี่ยบอสแบบ2 ตัวด้วยนะโหเลือดลุกโอ้เท่อะเท่กูหมดตังค์กับเกมนี้จริงๆนะช้างมันเหมือนก้ามกึ่งช้างกับแมมมอสเป็นความแมมมอสบวกอะไรวะควายจะคือบวกเหมือนหัวมันมีทุกอย่างเลยมอนตัวเนี้ยตัวนึงจะตายแล้วเนี่ยนะสายฟ้ามันปกติมันจะเป็นสีนั่นใช่ไหมหรือว่าเขาเปลี่ยนสีวะสายฟ้าเป็นสีสายฟ้านึกว่าต้องฆ่าทั้งคู่ด้วยไม่ใช่พูดกับนี่แน่ว้าวให้ผ่าน
If you have any questions about what you just saw, we'll be doing a Q&A later on. While Path of Exile 2 definitely won't be released this year, we do have a Path of Exile expansion you can play 1 week from now. I'd like to introduce Path of Exile Ultimatum.
ซีซั่นนี้นะครับผม Ultimatum
You only live once, exile. Make your choice.
Thank you choice สแลมแล้วสแลมอีกเฮ้ยเดี๋ยวนี่มันเสาหรือว่าอะไรวะ
A simple ultimatum. Leave with your life and a meager reward, or risk it all for a chance at ungodly riches. For each trial you accept, the challenge grows. But fail and leave with nothing.
งงอยู่นะ Survivor Duration รอดให้ได้Hunter Slain ก็คือฆ่าหมด
Reap the reward you deserve.
8 new gem 8 new gem Tender recruit The Lord of Rebellion เดี๋ยวรีเวิร์กมึงจะรีเวิร์กทั้งหมดเลยเนี่ยรีเวิร์กไอ้เหี้ยรีเวิร์กทุกอย่างเลยอ่ะรีเวิร์กหมดเลยไอ้เหี้ยรีเวิร์กไอ้เหี้ยตัว What the heck รีเวิร์กทุกอย่างไอ้เหี้ยมึงจะรีเวิร์กทุกสรรพสิ่ง
Ultimate reward requires ultimate risk. Face the
The
ultimatum.
ultimate อ๋อนี่คือบอสอีกตัวหนึ่งนะ The ultimate
When some people think of the Val civilization, they think of blood sacrifices, or Queen Atziri, or lost temples in the jungle.
เป็น
But
ว้าว
I think of risking your items. From Val orbs through double corruption, the whole Val or no balls meme, we had to make sure that this expansion was about the concept of risking your items to get great reward.
Great reward
In each area of the Ultimatum League, you'll meet the Trial Master, an emissary of a Val entity only known as Chaos. On behalf of Chaos, the Trial Master enacts trials where exiles must risk an escalating set of valuable rewards as they attempt to overcome progressively more difficult encounters. In each trial, you'll be presented with a reward, an objective, and a selection of difficulty modifiers that make the trial harder. Once you've chosen one of the modifiers, you must then complete that objective under the constraints of that modifier in order to win the promised reward.
ครับเรียนมอนเรียนมอน
If you succeed in the challenge, the Trial Master will present you with an ultimatum. Either walk away with what you have earned so far, or risk it all to try to win additional rewards. He'll offer you another item if you can select an additional difficulty modifier and complete the challenge with both modifiers present.
กราโซ
If you fail though, you'll lose both rewards and walk away with nothing.
อ๋อ
If you succeed, you'll be offered an additional reward in exchange for adding yet another difficulty modifier that stacks on top of the current ones. This cycle continues until the rewards become increasingly valuable and the encounter extremely difficult. You'll have to pick a point to end your run and claim your spoils before you make the encounter too hard and lose everything. At its longest, an ultimatum in endgame maps can sometimes have up to 10 fast trials in a row, with a special surprise in the last one. In maps, you'll occasionally find items called inscribed ultimatums. These items can be placed in the map device to transport you to the Trial Master's domain. Each inscribed ultimatum specifies an offering that you must bring with you, a reward you can earn, and an assortment of ultimatum difficulty modifiers. If you're able to complete the Trial Master will reward you with a specified reward, which is usually worth around twice the value of the item you must bring. For example, you may be asked to risk an exalted orb to win a stack of 2, or potentially risk a stack of 5 to win a stack of 10. Naturally, inscribed ultimatums can be traded with other players, so if you don't feel capable of completing a difficult challenge, you may be able to trade it away for a portion of the difference in price between the reward and the item that must be risked. Likewise, if you have a powerful character, you may be able to selectively trade for profitable ultimatums to run. There are also new unique items that can only be obtained from ultimatum. One such unique is the Glimpse of Chaos Val Mask, which provides
ลดนี่หว่า increase maximum light and reduce fire resistance อู้ reset is zero ไอ้เหี้ยได้อยู่นะอันเนี้ยหัวเนี้ย
provides powerful benefits to your maximum life, mana, and energy shield at the cost of having severely reduced elemental resistances and no chaos resistance. The item can be corrupted multiple times and has unique corruption outcomes, such as removing a random modifier or transforming it into a different random corrupted unique helmet entirely that retains its corruption implicit mod. Another new Val unique item in Ultimatum is Mahuzottl's Machination, which grants you 6 keystone passives at once. Combining all of these keystones results in some very unusual outcomes, and the item features an entirely new unique keystone as well. We have worked hard to make sure that Ultimatum doesn't punish you for being in a party with other players. Party members compete in trials together, but have separate rewards available to them that will need to be locked in to begin the trial. Each player votes on which difficulty modifiers to select.
อ๋อ
If there's a draw in votes,
ก็
the
คือ
modifier will be chosen at
ได้
random.
ทั้งคู่นะรอบนี้
If one
รอบที่
player
แล้ว
wants to take their reward
เต่า
and
มัน
lock
ไม่ได้
out the
ทั้ง
next
คู่
difficult trial, they're able to do so without stopping the other party members from continuing. Rewards are dropped allocated to the players who earned them. So that's
อ๋อ
Path
ต้อง
of
เลือกทั้
Exile
งคู่
Ultimatum. I can tell you, on release day, a lot of our developers are looking forward to watching Twitch so we can see players risking far too much in order to try to get good rewards. Speaking of rewards, there's a lot to talk about here. We had a look at Path of Exile's past reward systems, and we honestly feel many of them are out of date, many of them kind of lack identity, and to top it all off, like the core drop pool of just items that drop when you kill regular monsters just wasn't really compelling enough. Like, you know that feeling where any monster could drop a mirror? We want that for a whole slew of different items. And so we've made a lot of changes to Path of Exile's reward systems. There's a bunch of ones to the core drop pool to keep it really interesting. There's ones to basically every piece of League and expansion specific content. And we're going to go through all of those for quite a while now. And I should mention that every change we're about to discuss not only affects the Ultimatum League, but also Standard League too.
อ๋อคือเปลี่ยนทั้งระบบ
We
เลย
started
นะ
by reviewing which items can drop from monsters and chests in
เป็
the
นระบบ
core
พื้น
game.
ฐานทั้ง
To
ห
make
มด
sure
เล
the
ย
core drop pool remains compelling, we've made various changes. You can now find 2 additional currency items as core drops, Orbs of Binding from the Harbinger League, and the new Veiled Chaos Orb, which we'll reveal in more detail soon.
อ่า
We've also added 5 new Atlas base types, like this Energy Shield
add file new
Recharge Amulet.
Amulet.
These drop in specific regions of the Atlas of Worlds and have some powerful new implicit mods. Another topic related to the core drop pool is that of
ไอ้
boss
new
runs.
item นั้นเนี่ย
Veteran
new item
community
พื้น
members
ฐาน
will
ก็
remember
คือ
when people used to do Val Oversoul or
ตัว
Dominus
มอด
runs
ที่จะอ
over
อก
and
มาก็
over
จะมี
because
ม
they
อด
were a
ที่ดีก
profitable
ว่า
use of time. Final act bosses now drop more and better items, giving you a much more satisfying close to a difficult act and a more
Final act จะ
item-focused
ดรอปของ
approach
ที่
to
ดีขึ้น
getting ready for maps if you prefer. We have also added a bunch of very powerful and valuable League-specific uniques into the core drop pool. This means that they can drop from any sufficiently high-level monster without you having to engage with specialized content. Examples of these are Badge of the Brotherhood, Asylum, Pledge of Hands, Maloney's Mechanism, Brutus's Lead Sprinkler, and Headhunter.
อ่ะฮะ
The goal of all of these changes is to make sure that every monster you kill in Path of Exile has a chance to drop something incredibly valuable, regardless of what content you're playing. On top of all of that, we have added a handful of new vendor recipes, which let you make some pretty cool stuff. We really miss the days when players were scrambling to try to find unknown recipes, and so we're looking forward to seeing how long it takes for you to discover how these ones work. We have also introduced a new type of reliquary key into the core drop pool for this expansion. If you're very lucky, you can find a Val reliquary key from any monster or chest in Path of Exile. When consumed in the map device, it gives you access to a vault with a chest that drops a special foil version of a Val-themed unique item.
คอนสเปกเตอร์ไอเทม
Each
ใหม่
unique has an equal chance of dropping. Due to the value and power level of the items contained within, this is the rarest reliquary key ever added to Path of Exile. The rest of our reward changes relate to items that you can earn by playing past content like prior leagues and expansions. We have 2 goals here. The first is to add and improve items so that all past content is a compelling set of rewards. The second goal is to make it so that the best way to get any reward is to play the content that is primarily associated with that type of reward. Path of Exile's first expansion, Sacrifice of the Val, introduced a new ultimate boss, Adzeri, Queen of the Val. This fight holds up pretty well these days, considering that it is 7 years old, but its rewards really needed a refresh.
7 ปี
The
แล้วเลย
sacrificial garb base type that drops from Adzeri has been significantly improved with the addition of an implicit mod that grants +1 to the level of all Val gems you have equipped. We have also added 2 new unique items to Adzeri's drop pool and 2 more to
อ๋อ มี
Uber
ไอเทมอีก
Adzeris.
2 อันที่จะดรอป
One
จาก
of which is the Adzeri's Rule Judgment Staff, which prevents you from being stunned or having your
Queen
damage
of Demon
reflected.
Tiger
It grants
Frame
a skill
Storm
that alternates
Judgment
between Flames of Judgment and Storm of Judgment when used, as if you absorb the powers of Adzeri
สาย
herself.
นี่สายบ้า
Skipping forward to 2016's release of
สาย
Ascendancy,
บ้าๆทั้งนั้น
we've made some changes
ที่
to
แบบ
how you receive
เล่น
your
ของเงี้ย
labyrinth enchantments. Previously, when you completed the labyrinth and went to enchant an item, you couldn't see what random result you'd get. Now, the result for each type of enchantment is shown to you in advance so you can make the right choice. In the Eternal Labyrinth, you're now offered 3 different helmet enchantments to pick between, in addition to the boots and gloves. This will make it a lot easier to find enchantments relevant to the skills you're using and to apply them to appropriate
ดี
items.
อันนี้ดีมาก
In 3.14, we're going to stop giving out unique jewels for each day's fastest labyrinth runs, and we have added these jewels as very rare drops that you might find in the labyrinth's final reward chests.
อ๋อ มี
Another
ไอ
highly
เทมใหม่เหรอ
requested labyrinth-related
มื่อกี้อะไร
improvement is that you can now consume an offering to the goddess and the map
อันหนึ่ง
Another highly requested labyrinth-related improvement is that you can now consume an offering to the goddess and the map device to open portals directly to a random trial. This greatly accelerates the speed at which you can find your final
อ๋อ
trials.
ดีว่ะ
We have also added 2 new labyrinth-specific unique items, including the Scales of Justice unique shield, which rewards building your character with a careful balance of life and mana. If used correctly, you'll be granted protection.
เดี๋ยวนะเมื่อกี้คือ
An offering to the goddess and the map device to open portals directly to a random trial. This
Random
greatly
trial.
accelerates the speed at which you can find your final trials.
โอ้ดี
We've also added 2 new labyrinth-specific unique items, including the Scales of Justice unique shield, which rewards building your
Give me
character with a
ignite
careful
shock.
balance of life and mana. If used correctly, you'll be granted protection from shock and ignite, as well as additional
อั
fire
นไหน
damage.
ต่ำกว่า
Kadira Perandus now has a much larger selection of unique item rewards. We have also rebalanced all sources of Perandus coins so that Perandus content is still the best place to get them from. A craft introduced in Harvest kinda destroyed the Perandus coin economy, so we're absolutely fixing that at the same time. Essences have been numerically rebalanced and are in general stronger than they were before. Screaming Essences can now be used to reroll rare items, in addition to their capability to upgrade items to rare. The 4 Corrupted Essences have had some of their less useful outcomes improved or replaced. Now, the only way to get the powerful upgrade-only top-tier Essences is through Remnants of Corruption, which come from Essence content. Blessings, the currency used to upgrade Breach uniques, can now be used to upgrade Breach stones between tiers also. Upgrade Breach stones between tiers also.
จนเลยเนี่ยใครเล่นไอ้นี่อยู่จนเลยอะอัพ
Blessings,
เกรด
the
บิด
currency used to upgrade Breach uniques, can now be used to upgrade Breach stones between tiers also. Abyss jewels have been rebalanced and are on average more powerful than they were before. We have also buffed Abyss chests to make sure that they are the best place to get Abyss jewels. We have also introduced Abyss scarabs and have added 4 new Abyss-specific unique jewels, such as Tekrod's Gaze, a murderous eye jewel that increases your main hand critical
ของอวิทเหรอ มียูนิคอวิทว่ะ My goodness Strike Shank Manage Strike Shank Pro Maron Eye โอ้
critical strike chance and your offhand
นี่ใส่ทั้ง
critical
ชุด
strike
นี่คือ
multiplier based on
แล้ว
how many
ถือดาบ
murderous eye
ใหญ่
jewels you
นะ
have equipped. Another example is the Ulaman's
ธนู
Gaze
ก็ได้
searching eye jewel, which counts how many searching eye jewels you have equipped and grants your projectiles a chance to be able to chain when colliding with
โอ้
terrain
โห
proportional to this
เวกได้
number.
แข้งเป็นเชน
These unique jewels have a chance to drop from any of the
Ôi,
unique
cha chinh,
encounters at the end of the
uh,
abyssal depths, and these encounters are now by far the most reliable way to obtain a
โอ้
Stygian
โห
Vice
รองเท้า
belt.
มีผลมากในอย่างเนี้ย
We have added a handful of new beastcrafts, such as add a mod to a map or add a mod to an influenced item, which consume existing beasts. There are some other aspects of beastcrafting that we've been keeping our eye on for a while, and we're taking this opportunity to rework them, so that high-level gameplay is less reliant on obtaining certain beastcrafts. Now, when you use a splitting beastcraft recipe on an item, both copies are marked as split, which prevents them from being split again. You cannot imprint split items. One of my favorite reward changes, you cannot imprint split items. They're marked as split, which prevents them from being split again. You cannot imprint split items. One of my favorite reward changes in this expansion is that Incursion's Temple of Atsuato can now be itemized. Once you have access to the map device, Alva can turn your completed and ready-to-run temple into a tradable object that can be consumed in the map device. This means that players can specialize in either making temples to trade to other players or trading for temples that are ready for them to run. There have also been a lot of changes to the temple. As you may know, specific rooms in the Temple of Atsuado can drop unique incursion items that can be later upgraded. Many of these base unique items have been improved in this update. Previously, the temple's boss, the Omnitect, dropped random rare items with special incursion mods on them. Now it also drops rare items with incursion mods based around the themes of the rooms your
อ๋อ
temple
คือ
contains.
ดรอปที่ห้อง
Higher
บอส
tier
อย่าง
rooms
เดียว
plus
เนี่ย
more rare items.
ใช่ป่ะ
Specific rooms now add specific monster packs to the temple, which results in more monster density, challenge, and reward. Temple mods have been buffed so that if your temple has more high-tier rooms, then it's
อ๋อ
equivalent to a good map.
บัฟขึ้น
We have performed a modernization pass on rewards from temple rooms so that they're competitive
วิว
with
วิว
rewards from
วิว
newer leagues.
วิวซีซั่นนี้ต้อง
The explosive
ต้อง
room
ของ
also
ดี
contains
มาก
some basic
ถึง
chests
จะ
that can
ไป
be
ถึง
opened with flash
ย
powder
อด
kegs if you don't need them for opening a path
เอ็มโฮ
elsewhere
พอ
in
ส
the
ปอร์ต
temple. Delve has had a big increase to early rewards and a reduction to the quantity of high-tier rewards spawning at very deep depths. The end result is that Delve is a lot more rewarding for almost everyone, but a few extreme players who delve very deep will not be getting quite so rich from it. A big problem with rewards and betrayal is that players deem it not worthwhile to kill Katarina because it resets your betrayal syndicate board. In this expansion, we have massively increased the incentive for doing this. Now if you manage to kill Katarina, all syndicate members drop their rewards at one tier higher than they previously would. This change required the introduction of a new 4th tier of reward from each syndicate member and encourages the use of a larger variety of syndicate targets and safe house leaders. We have improved rewards that were not as interesting or valuable as the best ones. For cases where we deemed rewards too powerful, we moved them to tier 4 rather than nerfing them. The tier 4 rewards are approximately twice as powerful as tier 3 ones were. We have also added a new unique item to Katarina's drop pool as
มี
further
เทีย
incentive
โฟ
for
ด้ว
killing
ย
her.
เหรอ
The Cane of Kulamak drops only from Katarina. Similar to Paradoxica, it has 3 veiled modifiers that must be unveiled one at a time via Jun.
โอ้ย
This
70%
means that each version of the cane could be entirely different, and because of the way the veiled modifier system works, you have the chance to get 3 mods that potentially synergize extremely well, or maybe just a crazy bag of mods that don't work together. Furthermore, the cane itself scales up the magnitudes of any unveiled modifiers on it. We have made some changes to how unveiling mods works. You still get offered a choice of 3 mods, but these are now more powerful versions of the existing ones. The powerful ones are unveiled onto items, and the normal versions are the ones you unlock that can be crafted onto items. Also, progress towards unlocking crafting of veiled mods is at a slightly faster rate than before. Some very powerful veiled modifiers are now only available at their original strength on the unveiled version of the modifier, and the crafted version of the modifier has been lowered in power. Earlier in the presentation, I alluded to the new Veiled Chaos Orb as an item that has been added to Path of Exile's core drop pool. This new currency item rerolls the target item with new mods, like a regular Chaos Orb does, but one mod is guaranteed to be a Veiled mod. While it can drop from any monster or chest in the game, by far the most effective way of getting it is from Isling and some Betrayal safe houses. We have introduced 3 new types of incubators for Blight, Metamorph, and Delirium, and have modernized the rewards from the other incubators. The item yield from chests and blighted maps is now affected by a portion of the map item's quantity, giving you a reason to roll your blighted maps if you can handle the additional challenge. Anointments to blighted maps have been rebalanced and reworked so that each has its own purpose and with a consistent increase in reward as the oils get rarer. This is basically entirely buffs, because one big nerf we needed to do was already done last league. You can now corrupt blighted maps. These can very rarely drop the new tainted oil, which allows you to apply anointments to corrupted items.
อ๋อ corrupted
We have
Deep
also
in
introduced
corrupted
blighted
ก็ได้วะ
scarabs. We have added 2 new types of catalysts,
สบายแล้ว
Finger
ที
on
นี้
Speed and Critical Strikes respectively. These new catalysts are rarer than previous
มีอะไรนะคิติคอนด้วย
ones. As discussed in the recent development manifesto, the current 3.13 version of Harvest is too rewarding, so we're rebalancing its crafting and also increasing how often you'll encounter portals to the Sacred Grove. The current version spams you with way too many crafts, so each seed has a chance to grant a craft now, reducing the overall number of crafts you can perform per garden, though you will encounter the grove 60% more than you did before. Some of the most powerful crafting options have been removed or changed. The Heart of the Grove encounter is now a map fragment that can randomly drop from tier 4 harvest bosses instead of rarely replacing the entire grove when it spawns. With the release of Ultimatum, Ritual will be added to the core game, with a chance to occur in each map you play. It has also been added to the Atlas passive skill tree system and is available as a Sextant mod. Almost every time we release a league, we later roll it into the core game with a chance to spawn in maps, usually 10%, sometimes 5%. When Ritual is added to the core game, we are standardizing this rate at 8%, which means a small decrease for some leagues and an increase for Harvest. We have rebalanced other things to compensate, like the rate at which Heist Rogues level up. Most Atlas passive trees have the same increase in chance for bonus content, meaning they now offer more than double the chance of encountering your preferred content. So I just spent a ton of time describing lots of buffs to Path of Exile's different reward systems, and there was one nerf that I left to last. And this because it's a nerf to a league that I kind of care about a bit. Talisman was one that I kind of led the design on, and players joke that it's my favorite league. Now, in the 3.12.3 content update, there was a change to talismans. Basically, they weren't good enough, so the team decided to add a random anointment to them, which made them a lot more powerful, and also to juice up the mods to make them well rolled. And that was overkill. Like, as you've seen recently, talismans have just been dropping with insane mods and great anointments, and we felt in this expansion, especially because you can use tainted oils in order to redo the anointments on talismans, because now you can modify corrupted amulets. Honestly, they don't need the well-rolled mods anymore, and so we've removed that. Talismans are still compelling, but they're not quite where they were in the last league. Every Path of Exile expansion needs new ways for players to slaughter their enemies. In Path of Exile Ultimatum, this takes the form of 4 new skill gems and 4 support gems. In line with Ultimatum's Val theme, these gems focus on blood, the idea of spending life rather than mana to use your skills. Alongside the new skill and support gems, we've also made some adjustments to the low life mechanic, including changing the low life threshold to 50%. This makes it much easier and safer to stay on low life for builds where it matters. Typically, when players create low life builds, they rely on Energy Shield to protect themselves against incoming damage. The new skill Petrified Blood enables low life builds to
Life recover auto then fact cannot recover life. When you take in damage from hit, lose.
instead use some of their life pool to absorb hits. While it's active, you can't recover life above 50% through any method other than flasks. Sources of life recovery like life regeneration and life leech only apply to the bottom half of your life pool. Additionally, a portion of incoming hit damage that affects the lower half of your life pool is spread out over time rather than being applied instantly. Corrupting Fever consumes a chunk of your life and grants you a buff that causes all your hits to apply Corrupted Blood to your enemies. Corrupted Blood stacks up with each hit, causing more and more physical damage over time. When you have consumed a certain amount of life to cast skills from your life pool, the buff's duration refreshes. Essentially, as long as you're consuming life to use skills, you'll be causing damage over time to stack on enemies. Be careful though.
เจ็บบัตรใส่ตัวเอง
The Exsanguinate skill shoots tendrils of blood in front of you at the cost of life rather than mana. In addition to a strong
Yeah, the
physical
Q
damage
might
hit, it also applies a physical damage over time debuff, which can stack up to 3 times. You can also support Exsanguinate so that its tendrils chain from one target to the next. Reap conjures a giant bloody scythe that swings across a selected area,
Oh, yeah,
applying
the Q
strong
might.
hit damage and physical damage over time. Each use of the
Kill,
skill
kill.
causes it to gain a charge that scales its damage up and increases its life cost up to 5
เป็น
times.
สเปล
These charges drop a charge.
เมื่อกี้เป็นอะไร
Reap to support
สเปลเหมือน
Exsanguinate
กันนะ modify สเปล
up to 5 times. These charges drop off over time as well as after killing enemies, making Reap very powerful at stacking up damage against single targets.
คือเลือดที่มันจะ
We've
ดึง
also
ไว้
added
เล
2
ย
new support gems that have split the existing blood magic support into 2 separate support gems. The first of these is the Arrogance support, which causes supported skills to reserve life instead of mana and also provides an increase to the effect of auras that it supports. Just like the original blood magic support gem, the reservation multiplier diminishes as the gem levels up. The Life Tap support gem causes supported skills to cost life instead of mana. Once you've consumed a certain amount of life to use a skill, you gain Life Tap, which increases your damage for a few seconds. The Cruelty support gem grants a buff called Cruelty, which increases the damage over time you deal with supported skills. It also boosts the hit damage from supported skills, and the Cruelty buff gets stronger the harder you hit. This gem is designed as an additional option for builds that focus on both hits and damage over time. The Bloodthirst support gem is a new option for low life attackers. This gem
ขั้น for อะไรนะ
The Bloodthirst support gem is a new option
Low
for
life
low life
attack.
attackers. This gem adds a percentage of your life as physical weapon damage while you're on low life, letting low life attack based builds really scale their damage, which wasn't an option before. Alongside a Val themed expansion and blood themed gems, it felt right to take the opportunity to improve Val skills, which are supercharged versions of regular gems that charge up with the souls of your slain enemies to deal huge bursts of damage. One of the main improvements is that you now get far more souls for Val skills from damaging unique enemies, so your Val skills will recharge faster against bosses. We've also improved the Atziri's Rain unique jewel. Alongside increasing the duration of your Val skills, it also grants a chance to regain all consumed souls. Val skills have also received a balance pass that you can check out in the full Path of Exile Ultimatum patch notes in a few days. So we've covered most of the key components that make up Path of Exile Ultimatum. Keep an eye on the news over the next week as we reveal the finer details of what's coming. We'll move on to the Q&A shortly to answer your burning questions, but first let's have a quick look at the new supporter packs that are available right now to celebrate the launch of Ultimatum and help fund ongoing development of Path of Exile. The Silver Crescent and Imperial Sun supporter packs come with masses of points to spend in the store, social frames, forum titles and badges, a download of the digital soundtrack, and of course exclusive cosmetic microtransactions such as armor sets, alternate helmets, and weapon skins. The Silver Crescent series has an exclusive portal effect, and the Imperial Sun series has an exclusive aura effect. Each series has 2 packs, and the smaller packs can be upgraded to their respective large pack anytime while they're still on sale. These are of course in addition to the new core packs that were released at the end of last year. Remember to check those out if you haven't already. Thank you so much for your support, purchases of Exile 2, and expansions like Ultimatum. The reveals we showed you today are already live on YouTube for you to link to your friends in case they missed the live stream. Please do so. We're keen to get a big turnout on the release of Ultimatum next week.
ไม่ได้แก้
We've got
ส
plenty
กิล
more reveals planned
เล
for the
ย
rest of the
บา
year.
ลานซ์ไม่
There's a
แก้
lot more Path of
แก้
Exile
รี
2
วอร์ด
stuff to show off, and we've also got some new progress on Path
เพิ่
of
ม
Exile
ส
Mobile we're
กิล
keen to share with
โล
you as
เลเว
well.
ลมาเพื่อ
Anyway, if you
ให้
have any
เล่นอีก
questions
สาย
from
หนึ
what
ง
we've
ได้
shown you today,
เป็น
please
สาย
get
ค
them
อร์รัป
ready
เต็ด
because I'm about to be joined by Ziggy D as we do a Q&A based on your questions from Twitch
เป็น
chat.
สายคือดึงเลือดให้ต่ำที่สุด แต่ว่าเลือดที่ต่ำก็คือบวกยังบวกเป็นร้อยเล่นสายเลือดไว้ง่ายยิ่งเลือดต่ำยิ่งดาเมจสูงอืมแก้หลายจุดอยู่แต่ดูอันนี้หน่อยก็ดูปกติไม่ได้สวยอะไรเวอร์วังนี่ดูดิบมีโฟโต้ให้สวยชุดนี้ของไอ้มาเรื่อยอาร์เชอร์ดูดีกว่าซิเวอร์เลยยังงงครับ
When some due to the value and power level of its first expansion, like as you've seen recently, talismans have just been dropping with insane models. Just like the original Blood Magic support gem, the
เข้า
reservation
ไปใน
multiplier
VOE ดีกว่าน่าจะขึ้นตัวอันนี้มานี่ Art of Side Ultimate Item Action Chaos เลือกระหว่างจะคงที่ไว้หรือว่าสู้ต่อก็จะมีดับเบิลนะดับเบิลนัวไอ้เหี้ยดับเบิลนัวฮะยูนิคไอเทมที่มาจากที่ต้องไปหาอีกทีนึงอ่ะ DY Fat Internal ยาวสายตีไม่ค่อยมีของวาวอันใหม่โ o เดนบัคเกอร์แอคชั่นสายนี่ไลนิ่งอันเคออดาเมจเคออดาเมจแคนอีกไนท์ น่าสนใจมากอันเนี้ยยังไงนะ อ๋อ ใช้เลือด มีแค่ขวดยาเท่านั้นที่จะสามารถรีเลือดมาอีกแล้วบีดโบมากับ อันเนี้ยใส่เข้าไปในกับบีดสายบีดได้อีกไนท์อีกไนท์ใส่ได้ยังไง มันคอร์รัปติดพัดเหี้ยincrease damage over time you deal with would hit damage เนี่ยโลไลของเก่งมันเหมือนคอร์รัปบัตรเมจิกอันนี้ก็เปลี่ยนตอบได้อย่างซิริด้วยนะนี่ไอเทมใหม่ดีนะเนี่ยดี delirium you hit effect decay เนี่ยเพิ่มไอ้นี่มาดีมาก add chaos damage with both attack ว้ายตายแล้วสามารถ corrupted มันก็เลยตัดเทลแมนออกเทลแมนก็คือสร้อยที่สุ่มมอดมาให้แล้ว พอตัดเทลแมนออกทีนี้ต้องไปหาแม่งช่วง ไวท์แมปเนี่ยช่วงต้นน่าจะแพงอยู่ไอเนี่ยตัวเนี้ยคุ้มอยู่แหละเปลี่ยนรีวอร์ดใหม่หอกเนี่ยพนักงาน2หอกครับไอ้นี่ซื้อเพิ่มเข้ามาโค้ดเบต้าทาร์เก็ตอยู่ที่ปี2022อืมเฮ้ยอันนี้ดีว่ะเกิดจ้าเลยเกิดอันเนี้ยเจิดจ้ามากชุดมีในชุดเนี้ยผมมีอยู่เลยอะชุดนี้สวยกว่าแหละพอแพ็กอันใหม่เลยอะนี่ป่าวะสวยตรงไหนวะเนี่ยอืมปรับบาลานซ์เรื่องรีวอร์ดกับเพิ่มนี่เข้ามาแล้วก็4 สกิลนี้ไม่ค่อยมีผลครับคือมันเป็นบิวใหม่เลยนะบิวสกิลใหม่เนี่ยสกิลใหม่นี้คือบิวใหม่เลยนะบิวเนี่ยเหมือนลิฟต์เนี่ยบิวใหม่เลยนะบิวใหม่เลยสกิลหนึ่งอันนี้อาจจะใส่กับ Hitting Bow ได้ นี่ต้องบิวใหม่ที่ดูใช้เลือดนะใช้เลือดและมานาในการยิงไอ้นี่ครับออกไปเป็น Physical Damage Hit และ Physical Damage on Time ก็คือเป็น Bleeding อ่ะ Debuff Stack 2 ทีถามด้วย สามารถใส่แคนเข้าไปเพื่อขยายทาร์เก็ตหรือว่าเรียกอะไรให้มันชิ่งไปในจุดมอนตัวอื่นได้ สิ่งที่น่าสนใจก็คือเนี่ยบิวเลือดเนี่ยสแต็กเลือดเนี่ยสแต็กเลือดแล้วก็ไปใส่เนี่ยนี่สแต็กเลือดแล้วไปใส่บ้านนี่เนี่ยโอ้มันก็ได้โอ้มันน่ากินหลายวิวอ่ะเนี่ยอันนี้น่าเล่นอยู่แล้วต้องเอาวิวของท่านโอไมเซลมาทำอัปเดตต้องเอาวิวดัดของท่านโอไมเซลมาปรับแก้อีกนิดหนึ่งก็น่าจะได้ยิงใส่วิวเลือดได้เหมือนกันนะให้มันเหลือ4,500แต่ไม่คุ้มวิวเลือดต้องถือดาบ2 มือไม่คุ้มเลือดมึงต้องโอเวอร์โอเควันนี้ไลฟ์แค่เท่านี้ก่อนนะครับผม
Alongside a Val-themed
Let me update
expansion
one
of
night,
blood-themed gems, it felt right to take the opportunity to improve
These
Val
the-
skills, which are supercharged versions of regular gems that charge up with the souls of your slain enemies to deal huge bursts of damage.
นี่อีก
One of the main improvements is
7 วัน
that you now get far more
13 ชั่วโมง
souls for Val skills from damaging unique enemies, so your Val skills will
ก็
recharge
จะได้เล่น
faster
ลีก
against
อัลติเมน
bosses.
ตัม
We've also improved the
แล้ว
Atziri's
ก็
Rain unique
เล่น
jewel.
น่าจะอีก
Alongside
2 ลี
increasing
ก
the duration of your Val skills, it also
แล้ว
grants a chance
ถึ
to
งจะเป็น
regain
พาร์ท
all
เวกา
consumed
ไฮ
souls.
2
Val skills have
Beta
also received a balance pass that you can check out in the full
ได้อีก
Path of
2
Exile
ลีก
Ultimate and patch notes in a few days.
แต่ว่าภาค 2ก็นะที่เรามีก็คืองอกหายไปไหนงอกนี่งอกสเปียร์นะกับคอสโบสเปียร์โคตรเท่เลยถ้าใครได้ดูนะครับผมสเปียร์ยังเถื่อนนะ วันนี้เท่านี้ก่อนเจอกันเมื่อเกมออกเดี๋ยวตอนเย็นมาไล่มานั่งดูบิวนะเดี๋ยวนี่ยังไม่ได้นั่งดูบิวเลยนะเดี๋ยวมานั่งดูบิวกันว่าบิวสตาร์ทของลีกนี้จะเป็นอะไรครับผมโอเคเจอกันใครแม่งยิงตัวเองอีกเลย